Why is there no video? Oh, there it is. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Baba Girivardhari Gopi Jana Baba Girivardhari Yashoda Nandana Bhattacharya Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Bhattacharya Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we're reading today from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 8. There's a few verses, because some don't have purports. So Canto 8, Chapter 1, starting with text 4. We'll chant the Sanskrit for text 4. Shri Rishir Uvacha Manavosmin Vyatitashai Kalpe Swayambhuvadayaha Adyaste Kantito Yatra Devadinam Cha Sambhavaha Shri Rishir Uvacha Manavosmin Vyatita Sai Sat Kalpe swayambhuvadayaha Adyaste katito yatra Devadinam cha sambhavaha Shri Rishir Uvacha Manavosmin Vyatita Shat Kalpe Swayambhuvadayaha Adyaste Katito Yatra Devadinam Cha Sambhavaha Shri Rishir Uvacha Manavosmin Vyatita Shat Kalpe Swayambhuvadayaha Adyaste Katito Yatra Devadinam Cha Sambhavaha Shri Rishi Uvacha The great saint Shukadev Goswami said, Manavaha Manus Asmin during this period, one day of Brahma, Vyatitaha already passed, Shat 6, Kalpe in the duration of Brahma's day, Swayambhuva Manu, Adayaha, and others, Ajya, the first one, Swayambhuva, Te, unto you, Katitaha, I have already described, Yatra, wherein, Deva Adinam, of all the demigods, Cha, also, Sambhavaha, the appearance. Translation. Shukadev Goswami said, in the present kalpa, there have already been 6 manus. I have described to you Swayambhuva Manu and the appearance of many demigods. In this kalpa of Brahma, Swayambhuva is the first Manu. Repeat after me. Shukadev Goswami said, in the present kalpa, there have already been 6 Manus. I have described to you Swayambhuva Manu and the appearance of many demigods. In this kalpa of Brahma, Swayambhuva is the first Manu. Huh? Yes, we help. I don't know. It is okay. So there's no purport here. So we'll go on to verse 5. Chant the Sanskrit. Akutyam devahutyam cha duhi tros tasya vai mano dharma jnano padesh shartam Bhagavan putratam kataha Akutyam Devahutyam Cha Duhi Trostashavai Mano Dharma Jnano Padeshartam Bhagavan Putratam Gataha. Okay, I'll just read the translation. Swayambhuva Manu had two daughters named Akuti and Devahuti. From their wombs, the Supreme Personality of Godhead appeared as two sons named Yagyamurti and Kapila, respectively. These sons were entrusted with preaching about religion and knowledge. Purport. Devahuti's son was known as Kapila, and Akuti's son was known as Yagyamurti. Both of them taught about religion and philosophical knowledge. That was a short purport. At least Kapila, we all know of. We've mentioned a few times in classes recently, who established the Sankhya philosophy, which studies everything in the material world and ultimately leads to the point of devotional service to the Lord. And Yagyamurti, I'm not familiar. Maybe we'll read more later. Okay. Let's chant the next Sanskrit. Kritan Pura Bhagavata Kapilvasanuvarnitam Akyashe Bhagavan Yagyo Yach Chakara Kuru Dwaha Kritan Pura Bhagavata Kapila Shanuvarnitam Akyashe Bhagavan Yagyo Yach Chakara Kuru Dwaha. Translation of this verse. O best of the Kurus, I have already described in the third canto the activities of Kapila, the son of Devahuti. Now I shall describe the activities of Yagyapati, the son of Akuti. Okay, and then, so it was actually coming up anyway. So one more verse and purport. One more verse, and then there's a purport. We'll try to speak something. Girakta kamo bhogeshu Shatarupa pati prabhu Vishrija rajam tapase Sabaryo vanam avishat Virakta kama bhogeshu Shatarupa pati prabhu Vishrija rajam tapase Sabaryo vanam avishat. Translation. Swayambhuva Manu, the husband of Shatarupa, was by nature not at all attached to enjoyment of the senses. Thus he gave up his kingdom of sense enjoyment and entered the forest with his wife to practice austerities. Repeat after me. Swayambhuva the husband of Shatarupa, was by nature not at all attached to enjoyment of senses. Thus he gave up his kingdom of sense enjoyment and entered the forest with his wife to practice austerities. Srila Prabhupada's purport. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, verse 2, Evam parampara praptam imam rajarshayo vidu. The supreme science was thus received through the chain of disciplic succession, and the saintly kings understood it in that way. End quote. All the Manus were perfect kings. They were Rajarshis. In other words, although they held post as kings of the world, they were as good as the great saints. Swayambhuva Manu, for example, was the emperor of the world, yet he had no desire for sense gratification. This is the meaning of monarchy. The king of the country, or the emperor of the empire, must be so trained that by nature he renounces sense gratification. It is not that because one becomes king, he should unnecessarily spend money for sense gratification. As soon as kings become degraded, spending money for sense gratification, they were lost. Similarly, at the present moment, monarchy having been lost, the people have created democracy, which is also failing. Now, by the laws of nature, the time is coming when dictatorship will put citizens into more and more difficulty. If the king or dictator individually, or the members of the government collectively cannot maintain the state or kingdom according to the rules of Manu Sanghita, currently their government will not endure. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Gyanachana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Nena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So, a couple of important points in this purport. One was that the kings, the first kings that were established, put in place by Krishna, actually, they were great souls. They were rishis. Actually, they were called Raj rishis, means saintly kings. So they functioned as kings, but they had no desire for sense gratification. Their only interest was devotional service, and therefore they ran their kingdoms in such a way that the people, the followers, they're called the praja. Praja means one who's born in the kingdom somewhere. Praja. So everyone in their kingdom, at least every human being in their kingdom, they directed them and ruled the kingdom in such a way that they would all advance gradually on the path of devotional service. If someone was not on the level yet of devotional service, at least they would follow varnashram properly, so they would get purified, so they would move to that level. So in the Vedic culture, everyone moved up. Everyone moved upwards under the direction of these perfect kings. So Swayambhuva Manu, it appears from this purport, I don't know how long he remained as king, but he had no interest in that, and he actually renounced everything. He went to the forest and practiced some austerities. He entered the forest with his wife to practice austerities. That's what they did. And sometimes kings did that. And of course they were not irresponsible, so if they went to the forest to practice austerities, they made sure they had a son or someone who was taking over as king. They didn't just walk out and think about this is good for me, but I don't care about all these people. They made sure that there were the proper ruler there to carry on managing the country or the planet in some cases. So these original kings, some of them were, I mean, the emperors. There were emperors that were, although there were many kings, but the emperor was in charge of the entire planet. You can imagine somebody so great, so powerful that they actually could rule the whole world. But that's how it was in the beginning. King Prithu was one like that. Before King Prithu, I know there were many that were in Swayambhuva Manu. He was ruling the whole world, not just a country, not just a little part of it, the whole world. And they could do that because they were empowered by the Lord to do that service. King Prithu specifically was empowered. He was called a Shaktivesh avatar because he was empowered with the potency to we call it the administrative potency. He was empowered to administer the whole world in a Krishna conscious way. And actually we already passed it. It was in 4th canto, but there's several chapters about King Prithu. That was very, very good. So the saintly kings were like that. King Parikshit, who was just actually is hearing what we're reading right now. This all comes from a discussion of King Prithu and King Parikshit and Sukadeva Goswami. So he also was such an empowered soul. He actually directly confronted the personality of Kali. When Lord Krishna, the very moment that Lord Krishna externally disappeared from this planet, that's when Kali Yuga started, around 5,000 years ago. But at the very, very second that Lord Krishna was gone, then the Kali Yuga has entered. Kali Yuga couldn't even enter, couldn't even show his face on this planet as long as Lord Krishna was here. So Lord Krishna left at the end of the Dwapara Yuga, and then Kali immediately stepped in. And one of the first things that Kali did was he was killing or beating a cow and a bull. The bull is representative of religion, the cow of goodness, and actually Mother Earth, who takes that form as a cow sometimes. So he was doing that. This had never happened in the planet since the beginning of Satya Yuga, at least. And Maharaj Parikshit was doing his duty as a king. He was traveling all over his kingdom, and he was just seeing the things were in order. So, and he came across this low-class person who was actually dressed as a king. He was a Shudra. He was lower than Shudra, but he was dressed up like a royal person. Kali was, and Maharaj Parikshit caught him in this act, and he knew what was going on, but he approached the cow and he approached the bull and asked them for who has done this to you. He wanted to hear it from them, but he could see what was going on, and the cow was crying, and the bull also was hurt. It says he had broken 3 legs of the bull, and he was standing on one leg at that point, and so he was asking the bull, who's caused this problem for you? And then he was about ready to chastise that person. But interestingly, and this is in the 1st canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Interestingly, when the bull, who was like personified religion, representative of religion, King's asking him this, a direct question, and he's saying, well, there's so many philosophical ideas. I don't know. I can't really determine who did this to me. So he's saying like that. He didn't want to actually say he did it. Kali, he did it. He didn't want to say that because Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport. Actually, I think the bull himself said. I'm not sure if he said it directly or if Srila Prabhupada explains it in the purport. But the point is that if someone's being hurt and punished and like that, and he's thinking that the cause of my pain is this person who's doing this to me, the direct, what we're seeing, and he's forgetting that Lord Krishna ultimately, for some reason, is allowing it. So he's forgetting Krishna. So therefore, he also is described as will get reaction for thinking in that way. So we see that, oh, this person did this to me and did that to me, and they're causing me so much problem. I don't like this person. It may feel like that, but we have to ultimately remember that Lord Krishna, for some reason, is allowing it to happen, which means it's either we have some past karma that we just have to live out. Maybe we did something to someone before, and we just have to experience it to kind of say, hey, this is bad mentality, Either that or of course, in practicing devotional service, in the practice of devotional service, we can understand, especially after taking initiation, first initiation, we can understand that our karma is gone at the time of first initiation. It's passed on. We don't have karma, but we're suffering. We continue to suffer. Why? Because Krishna personally, as a favor to us, as a mercy for us, sometimes he gives us some difficult situation, and sometimes he gives us an extra nice situation. But he's personally dishing out all this good and bad, by our perception, good and bad, to help us to become Krishna conscious. So the same thing, the personality of religion was thinking that I'm if he was thinking, if I say that this person did this person is the cause of my suffering, then he's feeling that I will be making offense. I'll be my mistake, my sin, because I'm thinking that he has caused the problem, and not that Lord Krishna is, allowing this or arranging this. So that was an interesting point for that pastime with Maharaj Parikshit. And then we have so that's one general topic here, and then Srila Prabhupada mentions about formerly there were monarchs, but monarchs, the original monarchs, monarch means there's just one. He's a dictator. That's basically what he is. He's a dictator, but he's a good dictator because he's a pure. These monarchs were pure devotees of Krishna. They didn't make mistakes, and their purpose in life, their purpose in ruling, was to bring people to the point of Krishna consciousness. So those were good monarchs. Under Lord Ramachandra, of course, is the Supreme Lord, not pure devotee of the Lord, but he was pure Supreme Lord. But he also helped people to become, Krishna conscious, and everyone was so happy in his kingdom. They were just completely satisfied. Can you imagine? Imagine if the mayor of the city of Miami was so nice that everyone in Miami was completely satisfied, no problems, no anxieties, no conflicts. We can't really imagine because this is a very different situation now. But in the time of these great kings, that's how it was, because everyone was, the purpose of everyone's life was serving God, Krishna. So, but anyway, that was then. That was a previous age, and these monarchs were, well, things gradually changed. Maharaj Parikshit was a pure devotee, so his kingdom was also like that in the beginning. But Kali, who was, according to the history, when Maharaj Parikshit went to approach Kali after he said, "Okay, I know what's going on here. You did it. I caught you in the act, right? I caught you in the act. I know what you're doing." And he's challenging like that, and he has a sword, and he's ready to, kill him immediately, because killing or hurting the cow or the bull in Vedic times was just like killing a person. So he was just getting ready to, and then Kali, who realized that I'm in trouble now. I'm in trouble because this king can actually do something to me. So he did. So what did he do? He surrendered he surrendered to Maharaj Parikshit. I'm fallen. I'm your servant. Just tell me what to do. I'll do anything for you. But you have to give me a place to live. You have to give me protection. I'm part of your praja now. I'm a surrendered soul to you. He was saying like that anyway. So Maharaj Parikshit said, "Okay, so you can." Actually, he was telling him, "You can't. You must leave my kingdom." But the kingdom was the whole world, so he couldn't leave. And so then he said, "Okay, so you can live anywhere where there's Jai Shishi Gauranitai, Shishi Radha, Braja Bihari, Jagannath, Balaram, Lady Subhadra, Vanashiri, Gawad Maharaj Ki Jai." Maharaj Parikshit said to Kali, you can live anywhere, as long as there is, in that place that you want to live, there's animal slaughter going on, there's illicit sex going on, or there's intoxication is being used, and gambling, things like that. Those are our four regular principles. So anywhere in the world where these activities are going on, you can go there and live there. But he says, the Kali says, but King Parikshit, that's not possible, because in your kingdom these places don't exist. Actually, it's a fact. They didn't exist. So then he said, okay, then you can live anywhere where there's the hoarding of gold, which means basically greed. Your hoarding means you not just you have it, but you have it, you're hoarding, and trying to get more and more. So greed. So where there's hoarding of gold, where there's greediness, then you can live those places. And of course, Srila Prabhupada explains that where there's that kind of greed, then illicit sex, intoxication, animal slaughter, violence, all these things will come in. So this was the beginning of the age of Kali, like that. And then Maharaj Parikshit, he was a pure devotee of Krishna, but anyway, I'll explain it. Maharaj Parikshit, one day, he was out hunting, I think. The Kshatriyas, by the way, would sometimes hunt for lions and tigers and things like that and they had to somehow practice their arts so that they would be ready if they had to use it for miscreant people. They didn't practice on people. They practiced on wild animals sometimes, and those animals got some special benefit because they were being killed by the king for that service. So he was out hunting for that purpose. And all of a sudden, he became very, very, very hungry and thirsty and tired, which normally wouldn't bother him. And he was a pure devotee of Krishna, and he wouldn't really be attached to these things. but somehow or other it came on him very, very suddenly by Krishna's arrangement. This is all by higher arrangement. So um, he became very tired, and just at that point, he was outside the hut, they call it hermitage, they would call them, of one Brahmana, who happened to be inside in trance. I mean, he was absorbed in Krishna and unaware of what was going on around him. So the king went inside, and but somehow or other, he could not understand that this person was in trance. He thought he was just ignoring him. This was all again by higher arrangement to lead up to him ultimately hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. That's what's happening. So he goes in. He sees the saintly person there in trance. Thinks that the saintly person is ignoring him, not even offering him a place to sit and some water or something, which would be normal, minimum etiquette if someone came in. What to speak of the king of the planet. But anyway, he didn't offer him anything because he didn't actually know he was there, because he was in a whole other level of consciousness right then. So the King Parikshit, became angry, which again, he wouldn't normally have become angry for something like this, but he was made to become angry. And he found a dead snake right nearby. And how often do you find dead snakes laying on the ground? But he found a dead snake laying nearby. He picked up the dead snake, and just as an insult to this saintly person, he put him on his shoulder, wrapped it around his neck, like that. He's like, "You did this to me, here." And then they left. Then he left. And he was feeling, later on, he was feeling bad that why did I do this? But anyway, when he was doing this, the son of the saintly person was watching. It's actually some of his friends, the son and some of his friends were there, and they were watching what was going on. The king going in there, they didn't understand. They were also not in good consciousness. The son's name was Shringi. And at that time, Shringi, this is just the very, very beginning of Kali Yuga. So the Brahmanas still had power, they had potency. So, but he was lacking in the culture of and a real understanding of how he should be with the king, the emperor of the world. So he saw this. He's thinking, this stupid king. He's insulted my father. We are superior. Brahmanas were considered higher than Kshatriyas in that sense. So we are superior as Brahmanas. He's coming here and mistreating his superior in this way. I'm going to curse him, he said to his friends. And he did curse him. He cursed him to become, that in 7 days he would die at the bite of a snake bird. It's a magical creature called a snake bird. So he had that ability. So he's showing off to his friends. Look what I could do. And I'm not going to let this king get away with this. So then later on, he also had second thoughts about it. He tells his father, what had happened. He was very upset, actually. And the king was feeling bad that he had treated the rishi that way. But anyway, later on, the Brahmana, the rishi, having heard what his son had done, he went directly to the king and explained, this is what's happened. My son's did a stupid thing. He cursed you in this way. So what happens? Maharaj Parikshit is he actually is not disturbed. Maharaj Parikshit is an advanced soul. He's thinking, and Srila Prabhupada explains that Maharaj Parikshit had the ability to, he had the ability, he could have easily counteracted that curse. He didn't have to accept the curse. He was more powerful than the Rishi, or than the Rishi's son. So he didn't have to accept the curse. But he said, or he felt, that, oh, now Lord Krishna has made this arrangement so I can get out of this, all this kshatriya work, and I can dedicate my life 100% to devotional service. He was thinking like that. So immediately, he didn't think of how to stop the curse. He didn't think how to go back and get revenge against the Rishi's son. He didn't do any of that. He simply arranged immediately. He had 1 week. He immediately arranged to have his son, or maybe some of the sons together, I don't remember exactly, to work to take over the kingdom, and they were qualified. He divided up the kingdom in such a way, and they took care. And he simply went off to the bank of the Ganges. He didn't from that point on, he didn't eat or drink anything for the rest of his life. 1 week, you can imagine. We can only go a day. But he went for 1 week, and he went there, and because he was the king, I mean, not just a king, but the emperor of the world, then he was very famous. So, and here's the king about ready to end his life because of this curse So he was out there, and he was asking different saintly persons who were coming, okay, what does one do? What should one be doing at this point of life when you're about ready to die? What should one be doing? And they were giving their different opinions. They gave different opinions. Not everyone who came to him was like a pure devotee of Krishna. They were at different levels of realization. They were all austere, but they had different, levels of realization. So he was asking, and they gave their opinions. And then along comes Sukadeva Goswami. Sukadeva Goswami had just, not too long before, had just been born. You know about Sukadeva Goswami's birth?
Not really.
Okay, well, I'll have to be quick so I don't go too long here. But Sukadeva Goswami is the son of Srila Vyasadeva. And he stayed in the womb for 16 years. Can you imagine? 16 years. He didn't want to come out because he was already unrealized before, and he didn't want to come out because he's saying, what's the use? Go out and get entangled in the material world, and he was peaceful where he was. But then Srila Vyasadeva was always speaking Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam is actually eternal, so he was speaking about the Srimad Bhagavatam, and Sukadeva Goswami was hearing it inside the mother's womb, and then he actually finally he decided to come out because he wanted to give this knowledge to others. He actually had some purpose to life. So he was out. He didn't even stay around home. He didn't even get dressed. He's a 16-year-old boy. He just walked out undressed, and he was walking like that all over. And at some point, he came to right there to where Maharaj Parikshit was about ready to give up his material body by this curse. And everyone who saw Sukadeva Goswami, they knew, because they knew there's a science called I forget what the science is called. Anyway, there's a science by which by looking at someone, seeing how they look, how they walk, how their facial, bodily features like that, you can understand a whole lot about them. Anyway, they understood just by seeing him, even though he was naked. But that didn't bother them because they understood that he was a very, very, very advanced soul. And Maharaj Parikshit understood that as well. So he asked Sukadeva Goswami the same question. And the result of that was that Sukadeva Goswami spoke the Srimad Bhagavatam to him. So that's what the whole last 7 days they were just speaking Srimad Bhagavatam at questions and answers like that. So Maharaj Parikshit was after hearing the entire Srimad Bhagavatam, and just like we're reading it here, so he was hearing it without the purports, of course, and 18,000 verses. And when the time came, this magical snake bird creature came and bit him, and he gave up his body, but he was fully absorbed in thoughts of Krishna, like that. And then, anyway, that's that story. But we were talking about the kings. So previously the monarchs were very, very advanced souls, and then after Maharaj Parikshit was gone, and Kali started getting more and more, because Kali is Srila Prabhupada says, is the accelerating agent for irreligious principles. Accelerating agent for irreligious principles. So that means if there's some irreligious principle, some sinful activity, Kali is there, is going to make it go faster, or it's going to get more intensified. Which is really the reason that if we were practicing Krishna consciousness, we don't do those things. Kali can't come in. The whole world can become degraded, and there can be devotees in the world who don't have to become degraded from that. We don't have to be under the influence of Kali. Kali can't do anything unless we are eating meat, having illicit sex, getting intoxicated, or gambling. We're free. So that's why Srila Prabhupada and all the previous acharyas made it very clear that you want to become Krishna conscious, these 4 things you don't do. By not eating meat, we practice mercy, which is necessary for spiritual life. By not getting intoxicated, we practice austerity, which is necessary for spiritual life, austerity. By not having illicit sex, then we practice cleanliness. And by not gambling, then we practice truthfulness, because this whole gambling thing is based on non-truth, cheating, like that. So we by following the 4 regulative principles, Srila Prabhupada calls them the 4 regulative principles of freedom, right? So we actually if we accept those principles, then we're free from so much disturbance. If you're not following, then every time you see a sign, or every time you see a person walking down the street who's not dressed or much like that, then then the mind gets agitated and starts thinking, maybe, then it's totally agitated. But in spiritual life, we avoid a whole lot of that problem by at least grossly following these principles. The complete detachment comes, in time by practicing. But at least if we avoid these activities, and then of course we chant Hare Krishna, which frees us from the past sinful activities and purifies us more and more and more. And so it's like that. So Kali cannot enter. Kali tries to enter, but Kali cannot enter as long as we follow those principles. And because Kali has entered in general in the universe, then the kings, as we're talking about kings, the kings, presidents, governors, mayors. It's basically a whole lot of degradation, people that really don't know what to do, what not to do. And the kings or the leaders, of course, if they're allowing, but to speak of encouraging, sinful activities, they're getting a whole lot of reaction. Srila Prabhupada says that they can get up to, the king can get, or the leader, he didn't just say king, the leaders, anyone who has someone dependent on them can get up to 1/6 of the reaction of who's under them, who's not, who's engaged in sinful life. So so their duty is to not allow sinful life. If somebody's encouraging animal slaughter, or someone's encouraging drinking, intoxication, those kind of things, then and they've got people under them who are saying, well, my leader's doing it, it must be okay. But if you're doing that, if they do like that, then they're getting a huge amount of sinful results that are just keep them entangled for lifetimes and lifetimes. So, but anyway, that's what's going on now. So Srila Prabhupada points out here that the monarch system was good when they were pure devotees. Democracy, Srila Prabhupada also calls democracy demonocracy.
Yeah.
Right? Demonocracy. Because it doesn't really work. Democracy means the idea is that, okay, democracy, everyone gets a chance to vote. But the people who are voting and deciding who's going to be in office are not qualified to vote. They don't know what's right, what's wrong. Someone's promising so many material things, even if they don't even believe in God, maybe. They're promising so many material things. Then someone will say, that'll be a good president. Let's make America great again. But it's all based on material things, material ideas. So democracy doesn't really work, and of course in the democratic system, on one hand, things are set up so that hopefully the big leader is not going to just go crazy and take over everything and try to take away everyone's freedom. But in the democratic system, a lot of things just don't get done because you have a lot of people with a lot of ideas that are fighting all the time just to try to get what they want. Whereas in the monarchy system, when you had a good monarchy, they just made the decision. We're going to do like this, and everyone respected them and followed them. So that's what's happened over the years, and ultimately, from what Srila Prabhupada was saying, it'll get back to the king or dictator individually or the members of the government collectively cannot maintain the state or kingdom according to the rules of Manu Samhita, which is actually the rules for mankind. Certainly their governments will not endure. So anyway, everything will become really degraded, and especially at the end of the age of Kalki, the Kalki avatar will come and kill most everyone because they're really, really off the path and cannot be preached to, cannot be helped. So all you can do is kill them and give them, bring in the new age and then like that. Anyway, these are a few points on these nice verses here of Srimad Bhagavatam. Are there you have any questions?
So great. I have a question with a comment.
And try to speak a little bit loud so the camera can hear.
And it's very interesting to think of how pronounced the Rajrishis were, and they had all these things, and like the day-to-day person can't pronounce much, It's very interesting to see the extent of the Kali Yuga and how
Mm.
Now especially how almost there's a veil in between people and truth and Krishna consciousness because they're not right to see. So I think that's really interesting thinking of how these kings just kind of announced that they, and, they, like you were saying, they had sons and others to kind of take over, but they announced it and led a more pure life, and most people nowadays can. And then I really thought it was really great for me with the four regulative principles and the four regulative principles for freedom and how you explained it, because I hadn't thought about that way to reduce it to, no meeting is with mercy, no gathering is what's it, trust, or like truthfulness.
Yeah, truthfulness.
Truthfulness, sex for cleanliness, and intoxication for austerities. That was a really great way of putting it, that really clicked for me. That there's a purpose for all these things. I have a word for why, to explain it to others why we follow the four regulative principles. So that's really nice way of looking around, especially in the age of power. As soon as you read, you can literally go back into it. It's really, you have to remain very focused and very focused in not the Krishna consciousness, because how these power is in Maya, it's very strong. So thank you for that reminder of staying in association and being this Krishna consciousness, reminding Krishna where you go, because that power is, we were saying about the bull. The bull didn't want to say directly who's hurting. And you just go into this little philosophical thing because it stands for religion. You could see that right now, how religions just all keep butting heads and it's war because of it, and all these things, and it's kind of so muddled. It's so muddled, unfocused. People are using it to advance in material ways somehow or another. So thank you. Those are a lot of great points that I'm reflecting and processing and thinking about as the days come by. Really appreciate that. Really
Good.
good class.
Good. Well, thank you. I don't know if those who are seeing this will see this on, or can hear you very well, but very good points that you made. So I think we'll end here. We'll try this again tomorrow,
Yes, please.
and maybe I'll end here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.